Welcome to Art During Distance Learning. If you've had art before, you know me. But if you haven't had art before, I wanted to say hello. I'm Miss Sampson, and we're going to be exploring art this trimester. I like to think of art as a way to pull back the covering over our everyday life and find the surprises underneath. These are some examples of pieces of art that were made by students at ATA this year and last year. You'll see some types of art that we won't be able to do at a distance, like ceramics, but many of the other kinds of art we'll still be able to do. Some of you have had specific questions about what we'll be doing in art this trimester. Since this is not the trimester we all imagined, and everyone has different materials and different devices at home, we'll be doing art a little differently than we've done in the past. If you've had art class before, our projects will be different and new. If you haven't had art class before, that's okay. You'll be able to do these projects at home as well. I'll try to design projects that use a variety of types of materials so that no matter what you have around your house, you should be able to do these projects just fine. I'll think about a few different areas when I'm working on the grades that you'll receive this trimester. One area is the art that you create. Another area is how you understand art that you see. And even though we won't be able to discuss that art, we'll be able to do that online. And I'll also think about your studio habits of mind. Habits like your independent work skills and your ability to keep working at a task until it's finished. Those are the same areas that I would look at if we were in the classroom. You might be wondering what's required of you this trimester, since it's so different than being in the classroom. You'll have 2 assignments per week that are required assignments, and there'll be extra assignments that are optional that you may do if you'd like. Those will be for extra credit. Our grades this trimester will be pass or incomplete, and your attendance will be taken just once a week on Fridays. As long as you check in and do your assignments, you'll be marked present. We'll often use professional artists' work as inspiration. You might recognize this Nick Cave sound suit from our work last week. I wanted you to see some of the pieces of art that your classmates created using Nick Cave's work as inspiration. One great way to get ideas for your own artwork is to look at the artwork of artists around you. Take a minute to look at some of the artwork that your classmates created. You might even see your own artwork on this slide. I like to highlight student artwork, so throughout the trimester you might see your artwork in a video online. Now let's talk about some of the things we'll be learning in this first assignment. Elements of art and principles of design are building blocks that all artists use. Things like lines, shape, pattern, rhythm. We'll focus on line and pattern in our first project. A line is simply a mark that's longer than it is wide. The artist Paul Klee used to say a line is a dot that went for a walk. We'll also focus on pattern. Pattern is a repeating shape or line or object in a work of art, and you can see on your screen lots of different patterns. The first project we're going to do will use line and pattern. We're going to learn how to tangle today. If you haven't done this before, grab a piece of paper. It can really be any kind of paper. Cardboard, the back of a cereal box, a tiny scrap of paper, drawing paper, cardboard, anything you have around the house. Just grab a piece of paper. Next, you'll need some sort of drawing implement. It could be a pencil, a marker, a pen. It could be blue, black, colored, anything you'd like. A fine tip works best, so find something that you can use for drawing. On your paper, draw a dot in each corner. Once you've drawn the dots, draw a line to connect them along the edge. The lines don't have to be straight, just draw from one dot to the next. I find it helpful to turn my paper because I draw best going in one direction. You'll find what's most comfortable for you. After you've connected your dots, draw several wavy lines. These are called strings. Imagine that you just drop a string on your paper, and that's the line that appears. This next step is where the fun starts. Choose one section where you'd like to start drawing, and then begin making a pattern. It can be any pattern you want, a combination of shapes or lines, repeated patterns. Make it up as you go along. Create one piece of your pattern. And then what you'll do is, once you have a pattern that you like, draw it over again in a different spot in that section. You'll do this again and again as you fill up this first section of your tangle. The lines don't have to be perfectly spaced. They don't have to be identical. You're just trying to repeat a shape or a pattern or a line throughout this one area. Once you've filled up your first area, turn to another area and you're going to repeat the same process with a different pattern. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect and you'll make up your pattern as you go along. I did a round pattern in my first area, so I'm trying straight lines in this area. Really, there's no right or wrong way to do this. But don't rush, work slowly. The nice thing about doing a tangle is it should be relaxing. You can take your time. If you want to take a break and come back to it, that's certainly fine. But you're just trying to fill up each area with a carefully drawn, regular pattern. One thing that I really like about making a tangle is you really have to focus. Sometimes if I'm feeling stressed or if I have a lot on my mind, I'll take out a piece of paper and I'll just make a tangle. And as I'm making it and drawing each section, I find that I stop thinking about whatever it is that's stressing me out or worrying me, and I just focus on this tiny little piece of art. And because there's no right or wrong way to do it, I never feel stressed about these. They turn out how they turn out. Everyone's different, but the process is the same. You're just filling one area at a time with a pattern. You can see I filled up my second section, and what's next? You guessed it. I'm going to turn my tangle and I'm going to make a new pattern in another section. There really isn't any formula to doing this. There's no right way or wrong way. And you all know lots of different shapes and patterns and lines, and it's really just a matter of filling things in. Sometimes it might be hard to think of a pattern. I sometimes get stuck. You can doodle on a separate piece of paper and try to figure out a pattern that you like. You could also just Google Zentangle. You would be amazed at how many patterns are out there that you can look at for inspiration. So if you're having trouble or if you're stuck, just pause and do a little search. See what you can find online. That section took a long time. So I'm down to my last section now. And I think I want to have some more space in this section. I've created some pretty dense patterns. So I'm going to draw some lines that have a lot of white space in between. One thing you can think about as you're creating the different sections of your tangle is how dark or light each section is. How you can balance a really dense section with a really light section. That grid looks really plain compared to the other sections I've drawn, so I think I'll add some circles. That still seems a little bit light, so let me finish adding these circles, and I might add some color to these circles or some background. A little bit of dark to balance out all that light space. Yeah, I like the way that looks. So I've got my circles all colored in, but there's still something missing. So I'm going to grab my pencil and add a little bit of shading. Sometimes it's fun to combine a couple different media, maybe pencil and ink, or different color markers if you have markers, but adding more than one kind of material can sometimes add some nice dimension to your artwork. I'm going to blend it with my finger since I don't have a blending stub or a paper towel handy. Voila! My tangle is finished. Like I said in the beginning, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Every one that you do will turn out differently, but I hope that you can play around with this technique this week and make a couple tangles that you're happy to share.